Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Anudeep Sharma, and apart from running this YouTube channel, I am a full-time software engineer here in the US. But it was not always like this, and in this video I'm going to discuss exactly this: how I transitioned from purely non-coding based background to now being a full-time software engineer here in the US. And videos on this channel are generally much more informative and knowledge based and action oriented, but still, if you have interest in my life, or if you are at that stage of your life where watching something like this might even benefit you, because this topic is something which is so much in demand. People want to transition into coding based / software engineering based fields. And so if you want to listen to my story of how I transitioned and became a self-taught software developer, please stick around and let's get started. So it started just after high school when I was to choose my field of study, and I chose engineering because I scored well in subjects like maths and physics and science as opposed to languages and history and stuff. And that is why I chose engineering. And why mechanical engineering specifically was because it was so vast and so broad, and I thought that I could specialize in a variety of fields after having done my bachelor's in a generic field. I would also like to mention that I was offered other fields like electrical, IT, computer science, electronics and stuff, but I don't know, that 18-year-old kid wanted to do some hardcore mechanical engineering stuff, getting his hands dirty with real engine oil and filters and stuff. And that is why I chose mechanical engineering. And to be honest, I did well. In the first year of our engineering in India, we have to study subjects from all branches, and I did fine. But when we came into our third semesters and into our respective branches, my CGPA skyrocketed from 8.9 to 9.7 and then to 9.86, which was the highest. And all this is not to say that I was naturally gifted at it, but to say that I was really enjoying my subjects. What seemed like work to others was play to me, and play here refers to not a game of badminton. Obviously this is hard, but when it came time to study, which was just before the exams, I would find it much easier to go for longer hours to solve that problem as opposed to other people, and hence the result. And my interest in mechanical was so deep that this is when I decided that I'm going to pursue a master's in mechanical engineering. And to get a head start, I even joined a research laboratory at my uni. What I did there is a topic for another video, but the summary of it is, after working for 2.5 long years, I, along with some of my friends, were able to file for a patent and invent a new technology in my field, which was design and manufacturing at that time. And that patent was recently granted. So now we have that patent, we can monetize it, form a business out of it. But if you are watching this video, you already know that I'm a software engineer. So yeah, moreover, I even got the award of youngest inventor from Sir President at that time to invent a new technology in my field at that young age. And all this for nothing. But I know you guys are waiting for the story to take a turn, so let's get straight to it. So I applied for studies and came all the way from India to the US to study masters in mechanical engineering. You see, I'd also taken a gap year to pursue some passion projects and to dive deeper into mechanical and to decide what fields to specialize in, and I ended up deciding mechanical design. I came here, I took the subjects, and it was going well. The projects were interesting, I was scoring well, but something was amiss. They were not quite what I had envisioned them to be. I vividly remember feeling so disappointed and devastated because I had given so much of my life to this field. I was scoring well during my undergrad, I had invented a new technology in that field, I pursued passion projects during gap year. How could I not love it, right? Ever heard of the sunk cost fallacy? It is the phenomenon where a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy or course of action because they have invested heavily in it, even when it is clear that abandonment would be more beneficial. It's like watching a 3-hour movie, and by the end of first hour, you realize that the movie is crap, you want to get out, but just because you are all dressed up, you have paid for the ticket, you have come so far from your home to watch the movie, you end up watching the movie where you could have just instead gone out to the nearby cafe or restaurant and have had a good time. Meanwhile, I was lending a hand to some of my friends to complete their coding assignments, and you would not believe it how much I enjoyed doing that. I mean, I lit up while solving those coding problems even with no prior experience. And it was not that I was able to solve all the problems. In fact, I was able to solve none. But just the act of solving them was so much energizing, so much fulfilling, and it was clear to me that this is really my life's calling, and if I'm ever going to do some sort of job, it has to involve some sort of programming and coding in it. It was during this time that I found myself questioning and pondering for the second time if I'd made the right choice to pursue mechanical engineering. And I remember talking to a lot of people about this and doing my own research for this, and I decided to switch, but the switch was not easy. After all, I'd had the same opportunity to choose between coding and mechanical 5 years ago as well, right? Okay, let's pause and discuss about two crucial lessons that I want to discuss at this stage of the story. Lesson number one: go with your unfair advantages. There is a mental model in the book, The Unfair Advantage, that says that one of the most significant predictors of success is your unfair advantage. So each one of us has an unfair advantage. For example, a basketball player who is 7+ feet will have more chances of success as opposed to someone who is 5 feet. Surely, the 5 feet person can achieve all the things in the world if he tries his heart out and if he works really, really hard. But for the same amount of hard work, the 7 feet person will be able to achieve so much more. Hence, when deciding what to do with your life, I think it's a worthwhile consideration to think what your unfair advantages are physically and mentally, and if you can use those in your day-to-day work. I realized that solving those number crunching problems and algorithmic style lead code questions was so energizing to me, and they came naturally to me because of all the intuition I had developed from those quizzes, olympiads and practice problems that I did in my high school for fun, and my natural affinity towards mathematics made it a breeze to transition into coding. Lesson number two: you can't know if something is right for you until you give it a shot. So it's like test driving a car or trying a new outfit or tasting a new dessert. Basically, what I mean to say is that you can plan and research all that you want, and believe me, I did that so much during my gap year, connecting with experts, filling in my knowledge gaps, but you won't truly know if something is right for you until you have yourself experienced it. What was bugging me was that I had done so much meticulous planning, and now I was considering to toss it aside and start from ground up. And this was so scary because everyone around me was building on top of their knowledge which they gained during undergrad and specializing on top of that knowledge, where I was starting from ground up. Those I spoke to really couldn't understand my decision simply because they were not in my shoes. Most of them were pursuing fields which they had studied during their undergrad or they had previous experience in that, but I was taking graduate level courses in a field that I had no experience in, and I had to fill in my knowledge gaps on my own. As I said, I was really scared because everyone was opposing me and said that it is so stupid to throw everything that you have done and start a new thing because it would take an enormous amount of effort. But what I kept telling myself was, and it's a bit cringy, is that if you want a Ferrari, don't take advice from a Toyota owner. Anyways, despite all the fear, despite all the negativity that was around in my life, I made the dramatic switch. So this was the time when I had just made the switch, and I remember that the spring of 2022, which is just one semester into my masters, it was the toughest of all the times. I pivoted towards robotics and AI because it was the closest to software engineering, which I later came to know that it is far more complex than just software engineering, but I still did it. So I had to take graduate level courses to satisfy my credits, and these new courses delved to a weird combination of mechanical, electronics and software engineering, and because they were grad level courses, it was a specialization, right? We were supposed to know the basics, and that means the coding part of it I had to learn all by myself. And that is why I labeled this journey as that of a self-taught developer. And to be honest, I was feeling the heat. I was feeling left behind. Although that really is not a thing because we all have different timelines, different journeys, heck, different destinations, so comparison doesn't even make sense. Anyways, I was learning things that other people already knew, and I was doing those damn assignments because it was a specialization, right? I was applying for internships because I had an education loan at home. It was so weird and I was so fearful of everything. But one thing that my mentor told me at that time was, for some time, for some months at least, I will have to work heck so hard and I will achieve similar results as everyone else. But at the end of it all, I would have achieved and learned in 6 to 7 months what took 5 to 6 years for other people to achieve. And that really got me going. These thoughts creeped up broadly, but when I was in the middle of a challenging assignment, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed getting beaten down to earth by that one error that I couldn't solve for for the entire day, and that's happened for so many days. But looking back, I really think that problem solving came naturally to me, and you really succeed when you pick stuff which falls in your unfair advantage bucket. I was able to enjoy the journey, and for someone who didn't even enjoy that, surely they could also do it, but I could do more because for me it was play and for them it would have been work. And I remember after learning data structures and algorithms for like 2-3 months, what helped me keep up with the daily lead code solving practice was this nerdy interest in solving these useless puzzles that get you into big tech companies. It was now summer and I was applying for internships. With my limited coding experience, I only knew Python at the time because it was the easiest to start with. I did a data structures and algorithms course on Udemy by Abdul Bari. Yes, that Indian dude who's known as the god of algorithms and who's made lives of millions. And I was also doing some projects and pushing everything to GitHub to showcase my skills. I did come across some interviews, but I did not do well in them. When all my friends were getting jobs and internships, I was stuck in my apartment doing and grinding DS and lead code. In those moments, I again thought to myself that maybe I had made the wrong choice to switch because I didn't have the experience and skills, and maybe it was not possible to learn these new skills in this short time period. You see, I was so underconfident and I really believed that it was impossible to get a job in tech with my experience level. So I kept on trying. I would apply to internships and connect with people during the day and solve lead code and other software and robotics tools during the night to prepare for interviews in case they came. There were no summer classes, so I could focus solely on internship preparation and study. Yes, I could have gone on some trip, on a road trip, or traveled a new city, explored the country, and this is something that so many people advise me to do, to just get a break, get refreshed and start again. But even to this day, I do feel that sacrificing the only summer I had was the best decision because I had come into a new field and that did require some additional effort from my end. And this is something that I've always believed in, which is nowadays called delayed gratification. Basically, losing out on shorter wins to win the ultimate battle. And as the end of summer approached, just 3 weeks before the fall semester, I got a random interview call. I cleared the first round, and then I cleared the subsequent coding rounds, I cleared the HR round, and then I finally grabbed an internship at a company called MathWorks. And I remember being so happy and joyous. That feeling of finally having arrived is something that is unparalleled and unmatched to any road trip, to anything that you can ever have. But yeah, I will rave about this happiness in some other video, some other day. But the whole point of this video is to tell you guys that the barrier of entry is very small. Literally anyone can do it. This is something that I even noticed in my MathWorks internship, where people were from fields like science and engineering. That made sense. But people were also from fields like accounting and finance and HR. They were doing software engineering internships. My point is, you just need a bunch of strategies and a bit of discipline to stick around and to learn stuff to break into tech. This is something that is not true for other fields of engineering because the domain knowledge is itself very heavy. But when it comes to tech and software, you really can go a long way in just a few months. Now, working my first ever software engineering job was a struggle in itself. There were so many challenges like traversing a large code base, because when we are solving these lead code problems, we are just focused on one particular problem. But when we are working for these big companies, there is big ass code base that you have to traverse. I had to learn a new and a more complex programming language, and the biggest of all, the software engineering practices of coding and documentation and stuff. And these are the challenges that are faced by almost every self-taught developer, because as I said, cracking these lead code style algorithmic questions to get into a tech firm does not mean that you are a good software engineer. Yes, the tech interview process is broken, the world knows it. I might make a different video on that later, so let's get moving. So mine was a fall internship, and while doing it, I took up a subject called artificial intelligence, which was one of the core subjects that I had to take. And it really was difficult because this was something that I was learning for the first time. But for some reason, I was feeling much more confident. Not that I had done any skill acquisition, but after getting my first break, I had this sort of confidence that I really can do it. And really what I mean to say is that the first hurdle is the hardest. The first million is the hardest. The first call in the national football team is the hardest. But once the flywheel gets going, once you have your door in the foot, and everyone who has achieved something in life has gone through this phase. And this is not to say that I have achieved so much in life. Believe me, I have so much to do. I have a long way to go. We are just getting started. But what I mean to say is that you can't really escape it. You can give it different names, you can call it fun, you can learn some tricks and tips to navigate these hard times, but you always have to go through them, is what I believe. Anyways, by the end of fall in December 2022, the US was heading towards a recession and the big tech was mass laying off. Everybody was losing jobs. Even my friends and family had not gotten their internship converted to full-time, and that was the same case for me. And I was heading into my final semester, and the ultimate goal for me was to first pass all subjects, second get a full-time job. I remember giving so many interviews in my final semester but not progressing to the final round, and even in the ones which I did not get the job. Sometimes my experience was less, sometimes my skill set was not enough, and it really was a misery cycle that I was going through. But you know what, I didn't give up. I really kept a system to go through this shit. I would wake up, I would go to the classes in the morning because I had deliberately selected my classes which were timed in the morning, and after coming to the classes I would have lunch, I would connect with people and apply to new jobs in the afternoon, and after dinner in the night I would study for the interviews that were lined up. And even if nothing was lined up, I would improve my skills, do more coding questions, learn more tech stacks and stuff, and basically being ready for the opportunity, because you don't get ready when the opportunity comes. You stay ready, and when the opportunity comes, you latch onto it. That is something that I've learned through this journey, is that it is really worthwhile in life to be active and to not be lazy. Keep on developing yourself so that when one day the opportunity comes, and believe me, the opportunity will come, you are ready to latch onto it, because that window of opportunity is so small. You really have to be on your feet to latch onto it, because if you start getting ready when the opportunity comes, you have already lost the battle. Anyways, what all of this means is that I was not able to enjoy the time in my final semester as a student on campus. I had this romantic image of walking freely and carefree on campus, enjoying the college life one last time, because who knows, I might not even be in college for the rest of my life. So I really wanted to do that, but unfortunately I wasn't able to do that, and a sort of FOMO at that time that I was not able to do it while other friends of mine who already had secured a full-time job were able to do it. And yeah, that made me sad. But now if I connect the dots, I feel a sense of accomplishment that I really did do a lot of hard work, and that hard work paid off, and I'm working in the field that I love. I am excited to go to office on Mondays. I'm excited to go to office on Fridays. So it's all good. So here I was at my graduation day without any full-time job and receiving my degree as proud as I could be. I had given 7 interviews in the final stages in the last 10 days, and on the graduation day I just couldn't do anything but just pose and post some pictures, and I did those. It was really a glorious day. I really had goosebumps while collecting my degree. Good stuff, man. But I woke up the next day and I did not even pack my graduation dress and balloons, and I got ready, I ate my breakfast, and I opened up my MacBook and I opened up LinkedIn. I was applying for full-time jobs, I was connecting with people. I remember applying to 7 to 8 jobs that day, and in the night I was practicing some DSA questions, and I could see so many of my friends who had gotten jobs. They were enjoying with their family, with their parents who had come for graduation. My parents couldn't come because they didn't have a valid visa back then, and I was feeling, as I said, so much FOMO around that time. And I'm telling you all this to show that you have to keep up the practice. And even though I was not expecting an interview, I was preparing myself and I was getting myself ready in case something popped up. And it again ties down to being always ready for the opportunity when it comes, rather than you getting ready when the opportunity comes. And the only thing that I kept telling myself was, the best I can do is do my best. That's it. And I kept doing this, and 2 days later I got my first full-time offer as an embedded software developer. And that is the job that I'm doing right now, and I could not be more happy. And as I said, all this happiness is for some other day, and all I want to tell you is that it always feels impossible until it is done. And the greatest version of you is not the I can do anything version of you. The greatest version of you is the disciplined version of you, where you are doing the things irrespective of how you feel. You are not banking on motivation to hit and then taking action, but instead you taking action irrespective of anything. You making those processes and systems and routines for you to follow irrespective of how you are feeling. And because this entire journey is the dream, achieving your goal is not the dream, because after you achieve achieve something, you start taking things for granted, and then you push your goalpost, and then you start working towards that new goalpost. And the magic bullet here is to somehow make all this process fun and enjoyable, because enjoying the journey, the struggle, is so worthwhile in my opinion. And secondly, I believe in giving yourself a challenging life. Now, this does not mean that life has to be sad or depressing or a full struggle, but being in comfort zone is not something that I subscribe to. And that is one of the primary reasons why I chose a difficult journey from being a mechanical topper to now being a full-time software engineer. These are two different spectrums that you're talking about. And you have to go all in. You have to push, because if you are in the game, you might as well play the most magnificent game there is that you can play. Because what really do we have? And as for FOMO, I don't even regret missing out on that party or that trip during my undergrad or masters. There is always going to be parties, there is always going to be time to celebrate, time to make more friends, time to take leisure trips, and I mean the bars and pubs, they're always open no matter what age you are. What is not always open is the opportunity to check the box of life. That is not always open, bro. Oof, that was long. Thank you so much guys for sticking around. I really hope you found value in this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And please comment down below if you have any questions regarding this journey, or if you want some advice on how to transition to tech from a non-coding background. And yeah, I'll be happy to answer those questions. Until then, take care. I hope you have a great one. Peace.